Yo, what is good, Buckeye Nation? Welcome back to the Game Podcast with your boy MB. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to this video. All right, let's get into it. So, will Ohio State's tight end room break college football? So what do I mean by this? Will they level up and become a threat in the passing game? Now, last year we saw a step up. They started using the tight ends a little bit more. Well, actually, Cade Stover a little bit more in the passing game. That was the first year where they actually were actually throwing it to the tight ends of regularly. Cade Stover had 36 receptions that year, and was part of the offense for majority of the season. And one of the things that I had issues with, and I think some Buckeye fans had issues with, was the lack of tight end usage. But they decided last year to use the tight end a little bit more in the passing game. And I want to talk about how this can be, how I think how they can level up and maybe break college football, and how this is gonna help this team, right? So we know the lack of. So one of the issues I had was of course the lack of tight end users, especially in the red zone. And when you have a tight end, he is a mismatch in the red zone. There's not a lot of guys on defense that can match up with a guy that's 6'5", 6'6", 250. You can't. There's not a lot of guys a lot of defenses that can match up with that. So when you have that, you need to use that to your advantage. And I felt like the past few, in the past, they refused to use the tight ends, right? And Ohio State has never really been a place where they relied on the tight ends. This has been happening for a long time. They're very traditional. They've used tight ends in very traditional ways. They were more used for blocking, being an extra blocker on the field. But it seems now that they're going into a different direction, especially with Coach Key. Coach Keenan Baily. Kevin Wilson was an offensive line, and he was offensive line guy, and he was coaching the tight ends. And so he used a lot of those offensive line techniques with the tight ends, which helped tight ends in blocking. But I think now with the addition of Coach Keenan Baily, I think we're gonna see a level up at the tight end position, right? So Coach Keenan Baily, he was under Brian Hartline, and he was actually known to help bring in those five star recruits, and a lot of the 5-star recruits and those guys, they credit Keenan Baily in helping him becoming Ohio State players and stuff like that. So him being as the tight ends coach is going to bring a different aspect to the tight end room. I think we're going to see a different level of. I think we're going to see much better play out of the receiving play out of the tight ends, and it's going to be very very interesting. Coach Key is he's a young guy, so he connects really really well with the players. And again, I just think you're going to see a modern approach to the tight ends, right? You're going to see him, he's more, he emphasizes on more athletic pass catching tight ends. And of course you're going to see them block too. He's coaching blocking. Of course, it's Ohio State. They want these guys to block and be able to be on the field. They have if they want to be on the field, they have to learn. They have to block. They have to be extra guys, extra blockers on the field. So let's transition into the best four, and that's Cade Stover, Joe Royer, G. Scott, and Jelani Thurman. Let's talk about Cade Stover. He was the guy last year, with Joe Royer being out majority of pretty much all the season. He had a really good, first half of the season. Again, he had like 36 catches. I forgot how many touchdowns he had, but he had a few touchdowns, and he was really, really good in those games. And they started using him more. I think he's a very consistent player. I know a lot of Ohio State fans, and even me was kind of frustrated at the end. As the season got deeper and deeper, as we got deeper and deeper to the season, he kind of struggled. His blocking kind of got worse. He started dropping catches, especially that big catch in the Michigan game. He actually got hurt at the Georgia game too. So he didn't really have a he didn't have a great didn't really have a great end. It wasn't really a great end to the season with him. He also had a drop pass in the spring game, so it's kind of like we're kind of iffy about him. But I think he's going to be a consistent player, and Coach Key said they're developing a plan for him. So I'm still confident that he's going to be a very consistent player. No, I think you are going to see you're not going to see the same amount of stats. He's not going to have 36 catches. I think it's going to be more spread out with the tight ends, especially with the emergence of Joe Royer. So we know with Joe Royer, this guy was about to pop. Especially all off season. The coaches were saying that he was going to pop. He was the guy coming out. He was dominating in practice, and we all know what happened. Some off the field things happened to him. He had some nagging injury. He had his mom passed away, so he didn't play all season except for the Georgia game. But he was going to pop. He was going to be that guy. I think he's an NFL type of tight end that is a pass catching athletic type of guy. He's also gotten bigger. I think it's up to 254 pounds now. He was playing at 243. So this is a guy that's going to emerge, and I think he actually is our best. He might be he has the higher ceiling. We don't really know. He didn't play. We don't really know what he's gonna be. He didn't really play all that much, so we don't really know. And the next guy is G. Scott. We know that we haven't really seen a lot from him. We know that he's a flex tight end. He's a big receiver. He transitions to a receiver. Receiver to tight end. Hasn't really gotten all the playing time. A lot of it is body development and blocking. He got onto the field a little bit. But I'm expecting him to have a level up and become even better, especially with Coach Baily helping him out. Him being a former receiver and Coach Key being a former receiver coach too, assistant receiver coach. I think that's going to help him out tremendously, and hopefully we can see him in the red zone more. He's a big body, 6'2", I think 240. So hopefully he can play more. And then we have Jelani Thurman, a big freaky athlete, freshman. This guy has been talked about. He's been he's been a professional throughout camp, throughout spring ball and camp. The guy is already fit. He already looks physically ready already. He's like 6'6", 253, and he's a freak of nature. I've always wanted a guy complain. We never have guys like this, but this guy's an absolute freak, a physical freak. Now he's not gonna get a lot of playing time. He's not gonna get playing time over the three guys, but I expect him to play. I expect him to be out there in garbage time and blowouts. He needs to play. He needs to get all the time he can get. I think he can play in situational moments, especially in the red zone. Having a big body like that, if his route running is great, if his blocking is okay, I think he should be out there and situationally. But that's pretty much it. What do you think? How do you think the tight ends are going to be? Do you think they're going to break college football? Do you think they're going to be used differently? What do you think? In the comment, tell me what you think in the comments below. All right, guys, I'm out.